Hi, I'm Diane. This is Epic Conversations. And today we have Austin Brown with us again. He and his wife own their own construction business called AB Construction Inc., located in Colorado Springs. And Austin is going to tell us some practical tips for business owners. Now, Austin is a successful business owner for 16 years, so he has quite a bit to share, and I think you'll enjoy this. So, Austin, you have some great information, tips, or whatever we want to call it, for other business owners. So let's hear what they are.
Yeah, so I think that the biggest one for me is that before you start a business, educate yourself. That's the biggest thing. If I could have gone back, and we talked, on previous things that, the reason I started business, and so I just quit and just went right in. And looking back at it, I wish it would have took probably at least 6 months or longer to educate myself more on business structure and things like that.
So even though you knew how to do construction,
the actual building part,
because you had many years, it's the other level. It's like the business, how to run all the practical hammer nails, construction, building.
You got insurance, you've got liability, workman's comp. If you have employees, you have employees, and you're dealing to the 940. You got your tax returns, state, federal, local, and all that stuff. So then there's a lot to know than just putting up a house. It works great if you're an employee working for another company, but if you're not in any business, just familiarize yourself on, corporate structure, business structure. A couple of good books that I would recommend that I read recently is one of them is Start Your Own Corporation, and the other one is Run Your Own Corporation. Both were written by Gary Sutton. He's, I gained a lot. I learned so much, and I look back and I'm like, boy, that was. What I wish I knew when I started. So definitely do be an avid reader and an avid, really educate yourself. And actually business affairs, whatever business you decide.
Business affairs, okay, because what that's telling me, I just got this, Austin, is when you were an employee, you had an employee mentality.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, I think I'll start my own business, but it took a while to educate yourself to have a business owner mentality.
Right.
And helpful to read the books and educate yourself. Excellent. That's very good.
Another one I would say would be advertising. Because that was something I was very weak in. I didn't really understand advertising. I saw money going out is what I saw for years. That we're going to spend what on this? You got to be kidding me. And so it's like, but you need to get your name out there. And so that's a lesson I learned recently. So last year we spent more than we ever had on advertising. We brought on a marketing director, and she actually had her degree in that area. And so she was big on advertising. And the funny thing is, I think there's like laws of business, just like there's laws of gravity. You jump off the roof, you're coming down, guaranteed, unless you have some other law that's going to intervene there. But the laws of business, and one of them I think is advertising. It's very interesting because we spent this one $750 on this one-page ad in a magazine that went to 4 neighborhoods, and so. It launched in January, and then to this day, we have not gotten one call out of that magazine. And you're thinking, we just wasted $750, but we've gotten over half a dozen jobs, big jobs, from next door, which we paid nothing for. We'll figure that one out. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking back at this, and how does that work? And so it's got to be, just certain laws of business. Another one, like we talked earlier, where we said that I heard the saying that money is attracted and not pursued. I think a huge thing was when I started, because at the beginning of this year, I really got into, I didn't read, but I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and a couple I mentioned just a few minutes ago, and a lot of others. In that I was unknowingly, I just wanted to educate. I wanted to better understand business. I wanted to better educate myself. And that was my purpose. That was my goal. That's what I wanted to do. And unknowingly, I was actually attracting money to myself, because if you find you educate yourself and you serve others, you use those two priorities, and it's almost like a law of gravity. Money just is attracted. I mean, I know other business owners in my field,
Mm-hmm.
and like one just this week, he like a 2-day seminar to educate himself on roofing. He's a very successful business owner,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, this is not a coincidence. This is not just happenstance. That a lot of the successful people that I know that are in business, like myself, are avid educators. They're always learning. They never quit learning. They're always looking for something to educate, to better themselves,
Mm-hmm.
to better serve other people. And it's almost like success follows automatically.
So it's like a combination, it's like a dynamic
Yeah.
duo. You're serving others
Yep.
is the motive, as we talked earlier, and then investing in yourself. You're
Right.
investing in yourself by investing in your business, not just your physical skills like hammer nails, basics, but you're also investing in your business skills.
Right.
When areas that you said you were weak in marketing, so
Yep.
you hired
Right.
somebody to fill that weakness, to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's just like, wow, I should have tried this, done this earlier. And that's the one thing that I wish I would have known going into it. Those two things would be to spend the money on educating yourself and to spend your money on advertising. I mean, there's others, but those two, I can attest for sure that those two have really,
Okay.
I can see the massive acceleration in amount of work and business that we had just within a year. So it's just
Excellent.
amazing.
What
Yeah.
else? Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Another thing, if you're not spirit filled, get spirit filled before you start. Fortunately for me, I was spirit filled before we started the business, and so in business, whatever business it is, you're gonna come against problems. I mean,
Problems are inevitable.
you got problems in life. Okay, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like business just amplifies it. You got employees, okay, they've got problems. So I mean, you just amplify. You got to be a problem solver. You just can't And there's been times when I'm like, I'm out of here. Forget this. This isn't worth solving. But you can't do that. I mean, if you're going to serve people, you just can't throw up your hands and say, well, that's impossible, and just walk out the door. I mean, especially when you've already signed the contract on something, and because construction, I mean, it's like, me and my wife were talking the other day about having a surprise, or like surprises. I like surprises. Like, I don't like surprises. I get one just about every day in construction. So I'm pretty much surprised out when it comes to my personal life. But, there's things you sign a contract, we're going to do this, this, and this, and then you get there, and then surprise, something happens that you didn't plan on.
Mm-hmm.
And you've already got that customer's money. They're already expecting you to get this project done that they've been looking forward to. And you just can't say, yeah, I wouldn't just throw up your hands and walk out. You've got to solve the problem. It's not like it's not going away, and neither are you. So you've got to be a problem solver, and you've got to have that mentality. And for me as a believer, I mean, I've got to the point where it took some years to get there because I came from a religious mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So it took some changing in my mind that, hey, I've got God. God is in me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about assume that you created the world. You try to figure some of the stuff. You try to figure out how there's a million apple trees in an apple. And then, try to go back through all that. There's nothing that he can't do, and he's in me. So there's nothing that I can't do. And to unlock that, I think a big key is to be spirit-filled. I can think of a couple of examples.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of ones.
Right?
So we were doing this remodel in Manitou Springs, the very old buildings. A lot of them are very old, 1890s or earlier. And so we walk up there, and the owner says, I want to create this. See that arch over there? I'm like, yeah, I see that. He said, we're building an addition. I want to replicate that over here. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, they didn't have power tools in 1890. And so this was all hand carved, and I've never hand carved anything in my life. So how in the world are we gonna? I was just sitting there looking at it. It probably took, and so I started praying in tongues, and it probably took a good 2 weeks. I mean, just looking at that, praying in tongues, like, I don't know, what are we gonna? My employee was sitting there. He's like, and it was just him and myself, and we're sitting there looking at it, and he didn't know that. I don't think he knew that, with I don't know sure where his belief level was. I'm not sure he was a Christian. He was a really good guy, but he was kind of like into like maybe a Middle Eastern religion or something. So, but he didn't know what I was doing, and so when I went home at night, I was praying in tongues, like, we're going to have to create that with power tools, because we can't, I'm not going to hand carve it. I mean, I have a better chance with power tools than I do hand carving that. And so, and then God just dropped it into my heart. This is how we're going to do it. And I got videos. I took videos on our process on how we did it. I mean, we made this, because they were like, it was an arch. It was like this. It was arch with like a little rounded part on the bottom. So we had to create the arch. And then on the inside of the half moon arch on the top part, it faded from, it was kind of like a sun ray. So it came from a point, and then it came out like this, and it came, the rays, they got wider as they came out to the further part, and they also got deeper in elevation in the wood. So by the time they got to the point, it was flush, but by the time they got to way out here, there was like a half-inch groove in between the two, like 2 inches apart. And so you knew they hand carved that. There's no way, 1890s, yeah, that's what they did. And so God showed me, you do this, this, and this, and I got videos of everything we did, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember this. So, and it turned out, I mean, you look at it, I think the picture's on our website.
I was going to say, you can put that on the website.
It is. And you look at that, it's not perfect. I mean, if you're looking from the ground, by the time they painted it, got it all thing, you're like, oh wow, that was original.
Wow.
So that was, I mean, you're going to come across problems. You're not going to have the answer in yourself.
And you mentioned in a previous episode, for business, is that you put God as your senior partner.
Yeah, you got to start there.
So that's where you started from. So that's awesome.
You don't make God your senior partner, I don't think the Holy Spirit's showing up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then another one. Another one. So we were doing a deck build on this house, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the sprinkler lines ran through that area, or was it the bottom of a hill and everything just drained to that point, or what it was. But we showed up in the morning, and we get there, and so we go call it deck pier. Basically, we dig a hole 2.5 feet deep. Size varies depending on the size of your deck. And so we dug it, and we dug one day, we come back and got to pour it the next day. And we get there in the morning, and things half full of water. So we're talking like 15 inches of water that soaked into that one hole. And we were going to pour that day. I mean, because you're in construction, pretty much anything you do, you got deadlines. I mean, you can't just sit around on a job forever. I mean, you've got other jobs you got to get to.
Right.
And so you get a schedule, and you're getting there, and you've got your hole's half full of water, and you're planning to pour that day because you've got something scheduled the next, and it's got to happen now. You're sitting, I mean, can I say that's a problem? You're going to have to solve pretty quick. So we got, I'm sitting there looking at that and say, well, first of all, buy me some time. We can get buckets and empty the water out of the hole. But the mud's soaked. I mean, you can't pour concrete on it. I mean, it was like spongy. And so I was praying in tongues on that one. And then, God dropped another thing, right? Just like, boom. And if you were carnal, well, that's a really good idea I had. But if you're having any common sense, that wasn't me. That was God that dropped something into into an idea. He said, go get cat litter.
Cat litter. Okay.
I've never had a cat. Don't want a cat. No desire for a cat. So where would that idea come from? Get cat litter. Pour it in the hole. Soaked all the moisture out of the hole, and we were able to pour within a couple hours.
Wow. That was God. Yeah. That was a God idea.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing that I would tell, business owners. Get hooked up with, partner with God. Yeah. And, get spirit filled, pray in tongues. Make your problem solving ability a lot easier.
Well, thank you so much, Austin. I appreciate you being on the show. You've shared some wealth of information that other business owners are going to enjoy. Thank you. And thank you again for joining us. And if you're enjoying these episodes, please subscribe to this channel and share it with a friend. And in the meantime, till next time, have an epic day in the Lord.